Okay, we are live. Welcome everyone to this episode of Productive Environment Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about the art of organizing paper. Imagine that, with the paper tiger lady herself. So Barbara Hemphill. I'm Andrea Anderson, CEO of Productive Environment Institute. I am here in Carolina Beach, North Carolina, joined by...
I'm Barbara Hemphill, founder of Productive Environment Institute in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And we are thrilled that you are here. Now, I want to go ahead and tell you that if you are part of our community, you've been part of our community, this will be a review for you. It'll be a review, but I can't hear enough Barbara's voice and all your little what we call Barbara-isms. So this is always a good review. But if you're new to our channel, this may be the first time you're hearing this. So we are excited to share with you. It's really Barbara's life's work about organizing paper. She is known as the paper tiger lady. We're not going to go back into the whole history of that on this one. We did 3 hours and 40 minutes of that a couple of weeks ago. So check out our channel and find that. Because we are celebrating this month Barbara's 47th year in the organizing industry. So if anybody knows paper, it is Barbara Hemphill. She has been known for many, many years, decades, as the paper tiger lady. So today, we are going to go back to the basics. We now we organize computer, we organize your email, we organize your digital information, but we're going back to the basics on organizing paper. And as you can see, the title is The Art of Organizing Paper. So Barbara, we can do a teeny bit of history if you will share why. First of all, you've often said organizing is an art. Mm-hmm. And then you have your components of ART, which we'll share, are action, reference, and toss. If you will share the history of that, where did that come from? And why do you say, because you're a creative person, you're a musician. So art, you're creative, so that you've always said organizing is an art. And I don't know that everybody would understand what that means. So what does that mean to you?
Well, one of the ways to express it is if you paint a picture of what you want your life to be like, or for the purposes of our discussion today, if you paint a picture for what your life would be like if your paper were organized, that's what we can help you do. And the reason it's an art is because God did not create any two people the same. And probably my favorite story of all the years I've been in business was a woman that had told me she had hired 3 organizers in 2 states and paid over $10,000 and was worse off than when she started. Mm-hmm. She was so embarrassed. She did not want me to see her papers. I said, okay, put your papers in boxes and bring them to my office. And that's what she did. And after 2 hours, she was ecstatic. And I said, can you tell me what's different about what we're doing than what you did with the other 3 organizers? And she said 2 things. Number 1, I never realized before that my piles of paper were postponed decisions. So I just never thought of that. And she said, secondly, you never said this is what you should do. You asked me, what are you willing to do? That's the art of organizing. Mm. So we didn't always use the 3 decisions. So for decades, when my first book, Taming the Paper Tiger, came out, I said, Clutter is postponed decisions. There are only 3 decisions you can make about any piece of paper. And I said it was file, act, or toss. And I did that because it was fat. So I said, if you want to clear the fat from your life, you can file, act, or toss. But Andrea, you pointed out a few months ago.
Not long.
Yeah. That those same words could be reversed, or the concept could be reversed, because what I learned very early when I was with people with their piles of paper was there's only two decisions for the papers you want to keep.
Mm-hmm.
And that every paper you want to keep is either an action, it's something you need or want to do, a bill to pay or a project to work on or a phone call to make, or it's a reference, something you want to keep because you have to. It's your tax records, or because you want to, because you're a creative person and you like to read and you have lots of resources. So that we could take that and change it to the art of organizing. And art is action, reference, or toss. So it's the three decisions, but it's in a different order.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's not as fun, but we could have called it the tar. It could be called tar. Because I mean, honestly, if we can toss first, that would be ideal. If we could just go ahead and get rid of stuff first. So it would be toss, action, or reference, but that's not as fun or clever. So we're going to go with the art of organizing paper. And, today we're going to talk about paper, but I do want to just also point out that that same framework can be used for organizing anything. So if you think
Absolutely.
about, right? Yeah.
And an important factor is that if you are someone who wants to go paperless, or maybe less, my license plate for 10 years said less paper. Didn't say paperless, it said less paper. Because for most people, and in fact, a lot of organizations, paperless isn't possible. I mean, there's some of the things I'm dealing with legal things right now. You have to keep the pieces of paper.
Yeah.
But one of the things is that the decisions you make are the same. And over, I've worked with individuals and companies where they want to move to paperless. And guess where we start? By organizing the paper first.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot, and that's true. A lot of times people, when we talk about what we do and working with people, and they say, well, I'm just going to digitize everything. I'm just going to scan everything so I can just find it on my computer. If you don't go through the art process first, the dividing between action, reference, and toss, think about all those piles of paper that are going to end up in your garbage can or your shredder or your recycle bin.
Well,
why would you even think about scanning all of that? So you don't start with the scanning.
And the
Yeah.
other thing is, you're going to end up, because I've seen it over and over and over. And actually, we've had a very vivid example of that in our own US government this year, because they found a mine in Pennsylvania that had 11 million records, papers from people related to retirement from the government. And what did they do in order to solve it? Well, they did what we used to do manually. They did it by scanning everything, but then they were able to use AI to extract keywords, which is where we started years ago with creating a finding system as opposed to a filing system. So you can keep the paper, but you can combine technology with it as well. So, and the other thing to say about paper is, all of us, as long as you are breathing, paper is going to come into your life. And so how you organized it last year may not be how you're going to want to organize it next year. But here's what's so exciting. We have many, many clients, not just a few, but many. I just talked to one yesterday who's been using our finding system now for 27 years. The same thing she learned from me individually 27 years ago, she's still doing today. So this isn't, investing in the system that we offer is not an expense. It is an investment, because once you learn how to make decisions, and it is about decision making. Unfortunately, I just saw it today. Somebody quoted me on social media. This happens so often. Somebody will quote me and say, clutter is, I think in this case, they said, only postponed decisions, or merely postponed decisions. And it's like, oh, when I hear that, I just want to cry, because that makes it sound like, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. If it were not a big deal, I would not be in business. Think about this. I started helping people organize paper 47 years ago. So you could say, well, Barbara, you were a failure because you haven't solved the problem. No, I haven't solved the problem because our culture keeps adding to the problem. It gives us, and then most of our clients, a large percentage of our clients have been diagnosed with ADHD, as I have been. So if you've been diagnosed with ADHD, or we all live in an ADHD world, that's just the truth. And it means that you constantly have to make decisions. And it takes, first of all, it takes practice to do it. But when we are teaching you to organize your paper, what we're really, really teaching you is a methodology for making decisions, which will apply to every single thing in your life. It'll apply to your paper. It'll apply to your digital documents. It'll apply to your to-do list, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting that, people say, oh, it's only clutter is only postponed decisions. Clutter is just, it minimizes your struggle and makes you think, well, something must be wrong with me if it's just postponed decisions, right? So it's kind of the same thing with what we teach. We've been teaching this a long time. Barbara's 47 years. I'm about a little less than half of that. So 20 years with you. And what we've learned is that as great as our system is, we teach a productive environment finding system. I mean, that system could literally last you a lifetime. But we could easily say, oh, you just need a system. Oh, you just need to go through our training. Oh, you just need to set this up. Well, we have also learned that that's not even enough. That yes, a good solid system is required, but the consistency, the habit forming, the routines, those are absolutely critical. Otherwise, you're going to beat yourself up because you're going to be like the people, Barbara shared about that hired 3 organizing consultants and oh, I must be such a failure because I wasn't able to do it. And even with our team of certified productive environment specialists who help people, that's the goal, is to provide that support, that ongoing support, and having a team of people to do it with and do it weekly. You cannot just set up this system one time and expect, oh, I've done it, I'm organized, I'm good to go. It doesn't work that way. So,
well, we have 4 questions that we ask when we're working with any client on any aspect of, okay, so our passion is helping people accomplish your work and enjoy your life. So if they are not, then we say, what is it that's preventing that? And then when we go to deal with, well, is something organized? We have 4 questions. Number 1, does it work? So there are many people who will say, I've got piles of in fact, I just had a conversation with somebody the other day who's been in business for 35 years. He said, he has a photographic memory, thank goodness, because there's piles everywhere in his office. And he said, I can find anything. I know where it is, even if I'm not in the office. But he said, somebody will come in and move something and then I'm finished. Yeah. And so my question to him is, what happens if you're not there? So the second question is, do you like it? So sometimes people say, yes, it works, but no, I don't like it. We find that with calendars, with CRMs, with filing systems. Because if you don't like it, you won't maintain it for long. You might do it for a little while. It's like with exercise, right? I mean, you have to figure out a way that you can put exercise into your life so that you enjoy it. For me, that means I have to do it with somebody else. I will not exercise by myself, period, new paragraph. So now that I know that, I can build that in. The third one is what I talked about earlier, is does it work for the people it impacts? So if your paper is a mess, it's piles everywhere or boxes everywhere, the question is, what happens if you're not there? Or is this the legacy you want to leave your children? Or what about your business partner? We've had some very painful conversations with business partners who have lost their partner, and the partner was the administrative person. The person we were talking to was in my case, it would be, I'm the visionary and Andrea is the one that makes it happen. And if she weren't there, we would not be in business. There's no question we would not be in business if we're not for her, because I don't have that ability to maintain the systems. That's not how I'm wired. But as a result, now we're both better off. We both have a company. And one of our principles is, together we're better. The fourth question is, can you recover quickly? Because messes happen. I don't care who you are or how organized you are. There are things that happen. There's illness, there's travel, there's company mergers, there's new jobs, there's ailing parents. It just goes on and on and on. And when those things happen, the paper doesn't stop coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to have a mess. When I hear somebody say, handle a piece of paper only once, I just want to scream. That's the worst advice ever. Or when I hear somebody say, a place for everything and everything in its place. Wrong. If that's for you, then that means you're obsessive compulsive and you don't need me.
Mm-hmm.
And my office, I've often told the story of, if you come into my office on a Thursday, or my home for that matter, the principles are the same, and look around, you might say, wow, they pay you money for organizing? Because I like to start things. I don't like to finish them. I like the big picture and I don't like the details. And I don't have a person. For years, I had a personal secretary. So my office was neat because literally that personal secretary's job was to clean up my mess. That was written in the job description. Well, I don't have that anymore now, as my assistants are virtual. And so on Thursday, it looks pretty bad. But by the end of business day on Friday, everything is back in its place. And the key is, it took me less than 30 minutes to do it. I told that story to a client one time who had been relegated to the basement for his office, which he hated because there were no windows, but his wife didn't like the clutter. And so she said, nope, can't be in the main office. So he heard me, or the main house, part of the house. He heard me tell that story and he said, if I would clean up the clutter first thing in the morning, I could do it in 5 minutes. And then we talked about Brian Tracy's book,
Eat That Frog.
Talks about doing the toughest things first. He said, if I would spend 5 minutes clearing up the clutter, I could do it. And so that's what he did. So his level of clutter that he was willing to tolerate is 1 day. And the length of time to clean it up was 5 minutes. My level is 1 week. And the time to clean it up is 30 minutes. So part of what you learn in our program is how you maintain the systems you set up. Because many times, I went into a bank president one day. He'd called me because his assistant had left. And he called me and he said, I can't find anything. So I walked in and I looked around and just kind of looked at the drawers and stuff. I looked at him and I said, you've had 3 assistants, haven't you? And he said, how'd you know that? And I said, because I can see the starts of 3 different filing systems, because nobody does it the same. And the power of our finding system that we teach is that it can be shared. It can be done the way the person using it wants it to be, but other people can still find it.
That's right. I want to come back to that. I want to come back to the other people in just a second. Hey, Gladys. This is Gladys, Barbara. She said, you are my kind of girl. Love it. And Kathy says, Kathy Music, certified productive environment specialist, says decision-making is a muscle that needs to be worked. And I'm glad you said that, Kathy, because this is no different than if you hired a personal trainer and you said, I want to get in shape. I want to start exercise. And you hired a personal trainer and you went to that trainer one time and they showed you all the exercises. And then you said, okay, I got it from here. Or even if you, that little thing just did a thumbs up on my screen. Or you even went for a week or a month. It's like, okay, I got it. I'm good. What's going to really happen? Like, think about your habits in life. The chances are that probably won't stick too long. Maybe your excitement of starting something new and your motivation will get you through a little while. But beyond that, you need a system that includes support, that includes structured time to actually do the workout or organize your space, in our case. And so that is one of the biggest lessons we had. We had created this beautiful online course. I basically said my goal was to download Barbara Hemphill's brain and record her and put it up online. And we were going to sell all these courses, and that's all we needed to do ever again. And we did that. And, we sold some, but the success rate was not very high because people were getting excited. There were a few exceptions that actually went and did it on their own. Most people don't, and that's normal. So I want to say that to all of you that have tried organizing systems before or working with an organizing consultant before. If that quote failed or didn't stick, it's not your fault. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. What that system was lacking was the follow through. And that is absolutely critical. And that's what we've built into our programs. And I don't think it's doable without it. The same thing as having a trainer or having somebody else, another coach in another way. So, but Barbara, I want to talk about the other people in your life, in people's lives, because we can say, okay, everybody, let's sort your paper. And before we finish up today, I am going to give you some things you can do immediately, like immediately after we finish this podcast. But let's say you do that for your own stuff. You've got a pile of paper and you're going to practice the art of organizing paper. But what happens, Barbara, when you've got other people's stuff involved? I mean, you've got Alfred. Like, how do you work around other people's paper? In this instance, let's talk about paper. So how does that work? And what suggestions do you have?
When Andrea says you've got Alfred, that's my husband of 38 years. Mm-hmm. And when we were first married, he's a colonel in the Army. So I figured, he'd be neat and organized. Oh, did I have a shock? And paper was the worst because he reads, well, it used to be 5 newspapers a day. Now they don't print 5, but he reads 3 newspapers every single day, many, many publications. And he doesn't use the internet very well. So he has me print out all of his emails and things like that. So there's massive amounts of paper. And in the beginning, I thought, this is going to be the death of my business because if I can't even organize my own house. Well, I learned a very, very important lesson there was he didn't want to learn it. And I feel like when you're married, there needs to be some compromise. So there is compromise. And if you come to my house, you will see the compromise very, very vividly about where things are. So the first thing, the most important thing is do your own stuff and not somebody else's first. Start with yours. And not only start with your own, don't even talk about it. Don't say, oh, this is wonderful. You should do this too. Just do it. So it's like the song, don't talk of love, show me. It's like, don't talk about how much you're in love with this system. Just do it and watch it. And we have cases of where spouses were very skeptical because they'd see, oh yeah, this is going to be it. And they saw time after time where it didn't work. And then over time, it's like, wow, this really is working. And I cannot tell you how many books I have not sold because I would be giving a speech and have my books at the back of the room. And somebody comes, I'm going to buy this for my husband. And I say, I'm not selling it to you. Because not only will it not solve the problem, it will make it worse. Because the more you try to convince somebody else that they need to do it, the more they're going to resist. So this is about your paper and do yours first.
Right. And then they'll see and they'll say, I want to do that, but it's got to be their idea.
That's right.
Idea. Okay. So let's talk about what that looks like for you guys. That is something you can do as soon as we end this podcast. If you're available and have time and you want to actually do this, you can practice this with a pile of paper that you have now. So before I even talk about what you do with the paper, one of the things we always recommend, especially if you have a big cluttered area, if your area is very cluttered, is to clear off at least one horizontal space. Okay. It could be your desk. It could be a credenza behind you. If you need to, bring in a card table. but we really recommend that you have one clear horizontal space to work from. Otherwise, you're going to be picking up and putting down and picking up and putting down, and there's no space. So we want you to clear off a space and then start with one small pile. Don't go, oh my God, I have so much, and then go digging in a filing cabinet. Stay out of the filing cabinets for now. Okay, stay out of the filing cabinets. Let's do the most recent paper, which could be this week's mail. It could be yesterday's mail, today's mail, whatever. Find a small pile of paper to practice with, right? And you are not going to be filing that paper. You're not going to be trying to figure out what label to create for that paper. You're just going to stack that little paper together, and then you can, on that table, that clear space, you can have 2 piles. You only need 2 piles, because the third is going to be your trash can, recycle bin, or shredder. Okay. So the first area, you can put a tray there, or just put a sticky note that says action, whatever. Keep it simple. And you're going to put anything, you're going to pick up each item, each piece of paper, and you're going to say, what do I need to do something with this? And then that would go into the action pile. Or if you pick up a piece of paper and you say, I don't need to do anything, but I want to keep it, that's going to go in the reference. So there's 2 piles on that table, action and reference. And one piece of paper at a time. Action, do I need to do anything? Sign this, take this somewhere. That goes in action. Keep goes in reference. And our favorite, but we would never force you into this, by the way, but our favorite is toss. So if you can go through that paper and you're like, I don't need to take any action on this, and I don't need to keep this for anything, so let me go ahead and put that in the toss section. And so that usually is the biggest pile. And it literally is because of clutter is postponed decisions, because you're taking the time, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes, to make those decisions. You would be surprised at how much of that clutter can leave your home, that can get out of your space, and you will feel so much lighter. So that is the first that's the first step. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Let me see what Nancy had to say here. Nancy says, yes, doing my own encourages my husband to do his, because he sees how good my side of the desk looks. That's right, Nancy. Yes, he gets a front row view of these systems, and he's like, I want to do that too. So you'll be encouraging with your activity. So that is a start, right? That's obviously not the end, because you're going to end up with a pile of things to do, your actions, and you're going to end up with a pile of things to keep, which are reference. But if you go back to just not making decisions or not putting them anywhere, those piles are going to stay there. So we want to invite you to the next step of what to do with those piles. And there are additional steps beyond that. And we teach one of them. The biggest one is the finding system, the productive environment finding system, which is our secret sauce. Nobody else on the planet teaches it. Barbara's been teaching it for 47 years. And it works. It goes against everything you would ever think of, everything you've ever been taught about filing. So we're not talking about printing out alphabetical labels and sitting there, and because the problem is every time something new comes in, you have to create a new label, and oh, you can't find your label maker, so you put it down, and that's where those piles come from. And so our system totally revamps that. It totally fixes that problem. So we want to invite you to a workshop. It is called Tame Your Paper Tiger with us, basically Tame Your Paper Tiger Live. We're actually doing it live, but depending on when you're watching this video, you may be able to just go ahead and get into it right now, and it wouldn't be live. But if you're watching this in June of 2025, then you can join us live next week. It's actually next Thursday, June the 26th. 2025. If you're watching this after that, then you will still find the workshop there, but we just won't be there live. But anyway, we want to invite you to that so that you can put the art of organizing paper into action. So we want to help you organize your paper starting. Now, we also have programs for digital and your email and all of those other areas that make up your life, your business life, or you're taking care of other people's life. So we want to walk you through what to do now with those 2 piles. with the action pile and the reference pile. Now with the toss pile, after you finish this session with us, you can go ahead and do another pile if you want and go ahead and start sorting that out, but then get that out of your office, get it out of your house, trash, recycle, or shred. So Barbara, anything to add on to that?
I'm happy that you said you have to make these decisions one piece of paper at a time,
Yes.
because that's something that people don't want to do. They will pick up a pile and it just doesn't work that way. You have to decide one at a time. That's something you have to accept. And the other thing is, we call it the art of waste basketry. Research shows that 80 to 90% of what we keep, we never use. Now, as Andrea said, you have to make that decision. That's up to you. But we implement the cost factor, which you can keep everything you want if you're willing to pay the price, which is time, space, money, and energy. So our job is not to tell you what to keep. Our job is to help you decide, if you do keep it, this is what's going to be involved, and is it worth it? And my final thought about this is that the real question you have to ask is, what is the price I'm paying for not organizing my paper?
Yeah. The cost of disorganization.
Yeah.
So this is just the beginning, and we would love to have you in our workshop so we can do this together. That is really the lesson that we've learned over these years, is that Barbara's been saying it for years, together we are better. But truly, that's what makes this work. That together, we've got twice a week that we come together with other people, other clients around the world. I was going to say around the country, around the world, who come together at the same time. And if they're not available at the same time because it's in the middle of the night, they watch the replay. So they are able to come together as a group, see that they're not the only one with this problem. Everybody thinks they're the only ones, and that's just not true. And so we have built in to our program the actual doing, the implementation, getting it done. That is built in to how we work. So it's not just come and listen and then go on about your business and let things pile up. No, you're actually doing the work while we're together. So we invite you to go to tameyourpapertiger.com and register for that. If you are an existing SOAR member, or you are in our new SOAR Summer Sprint program, this is already included, so you do not need to register for that again. You're gonna be able to join us for this workshop. So we're super excited about that. So yeah, guys, go ahead and start with that one pile of paper, clear space, and then you can keep going with that if you want. But then when you're like, okay, now what do I do? What do I do with the rest of this paper? Reach out, make sure you're connected with us. One last website I want you to go to, if you are brand new and you're not in communication with us, make sure you go to lesscluttermorelife.com. There's a 12-minute training there that kind of gives you an overview of what productive environment is, what we teach. And by going to that site and registering to watch that training, you will then be added to our communication list. You can always unsubscribe if it's not providing value to you. But that is our way of staying in touch with you and keeping you motivated and up to date on what we're doing together. So we invite you to join our community at lesscluttermorelife.com. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you very, very soon. And we'll see you on the next Productive Environment podcast. Last but not least, I always forget these YouTube-y things we got to do. Please like this video, share this video, and subscribe to our channel. That helps the whole algorithms. It helps other people see our content, and it helps you stay in touch with what we're doing as well. So we appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.